So before we get on to the main topic here, Notre-Dame. Well, I've been looking into that more and more now. There were two Muslim guys up in one of the towers while it was burning, and there's a video out there on YouTube of that. 4 days before Notre-Dame was torched, they took, it was either 12 or 16 statues, oligarch type things, took them down using cranes. All the valuable inside artifacts were removed because of the scaffolding, apparently taken out and disappeared. There's also the timing of it. It's Easter, when Christ apparently dies and then 3 days later is resurrected or comes back as a zombie, whichever you prefer. So something else is going on here. There's been a lot more details that prove that there's something else going on. This was a distraction planned because simply by the fact that 4 days previously these statues were taken down to protect them. I think they were bronze statues or something like that, and the artifacts that were taken. Now they did some did get damaged in the, or maybe even destroyed in the actual fire, but the big main ones were all removed because of the scaffolding. It stinks of an inside job. It's a distraction. What we need to be looking at is what else have they been doing while we've been distracted looking at that? Because there's definitely something there. Vaccine fact. As of 1900, the number of people who died from measles was 13.3 in 100,000. In 1940, it had declined to 0.5 in 100,000, and by 1960, the mortality rate declined as low as 0.2 in 100,000. In what year was the measles vaccine introduced in the US? The vaccine was introduced in 1963, after it had already been displaced. Knowledge is power. I think this guy's onto something. I have a plan for the refugees. All males between the ages of 18 to 50 will immediately be inducted into the US Army and sent to basic training. After basic, they will be loaded into aircraft and flown back to their own country, and on arrival given their weapons and ammo and told to go reclaim their country, and when they have accomplished that, we will send their wives and children and other countrymen and women back to them at no cost. They will be paid the same as our soldiers while fighting for their country, and their dependent will receive the same benefits as our soldiers' dependents. If they are not willing to do this, then they are, and their families can find another country to take them. We should not have to send our military to fight for their country if they are not willing to fight for their own. It's an interesting idea. When the Paris police are knocking and you need to get rid of your child porn collection. I can't remember if I turned them hair straighteners off. Directed energy weapon. This is something else they're saying may have caused the fire at Notre-Dame, but it seems a bit late for that to be used. However, there's definitely a picture there of what looks like some type of energy weapon being used against the tower, the Notre-Dame Cathedral. No consent. For 800 years, governments around the world have pulled a scam. No lawyer or barrister can represent you in court unless you have signed the power of attorney to let the lawyer or barrister represent you. This is a formal notice by the office of the government and a declaration of no contest. A government cannot represent you unless you have formally signed the power of attorney. Never in 800 years has anybody ever signed power of attorney to be governed. There is no government. They do not have the authority of the people. Government has no authority. The judge has no authority. The police have no authority. Social services have no authority. They are formally agreed bandits, thieves and terrorists. They got you out of 85% of your gross income in illegal and criminal tax. In the UK, that is £115 trillion a year. They use force, active terrorism. They are confirmed terrorists by their own hand. It is formal and formally signed no contest. Mr. Ward, you are correct. We are not a government and we are terrorists. Right, the formal black and white and signed by Scott Clark. No society wants you to become wise. It is against the interests of all societies. If the people are wise, they cannot be exploited. If they are intelligent, they cannot be subjugated. They cannot be forced into a mechanical life to live like robots. They will assert themselves. They will assert their individuality. They will have the fragrance of rebellion around them. They will want to live in freedom. Freedom comes with wisdom, intrinsically. They are inseparable, and no society wants people to be free. The communist society, the fascist society, the capitalist society, the Hindu, the Mohammedan, the Christian, no society likes people to use their own intelligence, because the moment they start using their intelligence, they become dangerous. Dangerous to the establishment, dangerous to the people who are in power, dangerous to the haves, dangerous to all kinds of oppression, exploitation, suppression, dangerous to the churches, dangerous to the states, dangerous to the nations. The British monarchy, brainwashing kids into dying for the crown since 1603. Association of Muslim Police. Of course, what you can see here, right in the centre there, is the all-seeing eye. So it's all controlled by the same cabal that's been controlling things forever. Whistleblower. Withdraws offer to help police reopen probe into autistic abuse scandal. A whistleblower who has vital evidence of serious abuse at care homes for autistic adults retracted her offer to talk to police about what she witnessed, which could have led to them reopening their failed investigation. Disability News Services, DNS, found out this week that Avon and Somerset Police have failed to interview her, and even though her whistleblowing played a key part in helping expose the abuse scandal at Mendip House, which was run by the National Autistic Society, NAS, the whistleblower, Hannah, had talked in depth to DNS this week about what she witnessed at Mendip House in Brent Knoll, Somerset, and revealed that she had never been interviewed by Avon and Somerset Police. Police have failed to bring any charges against those responsible for the abuse regime, and they confirmed this week that Hannah was never interviewed. A police spokesman said, "We were never made aware of the person you have named as your source, which is why she was not interviewed as part of our investigation." She smells like bollocks to me. Hannah had made it clear earlier this week that she wanted to give a statement to the police in hope that the force would reopen its investigation and secure justice through the courts for the autistic people abused at Mendip House. But Hannah has now appalled campaigners by retracting her offer to give a police statement because she says she fears that speaking out could put her own job in care industry at risk. DNS understand that the police cannot compel Hannah to provide statement about what she saw at Mendip House. But again, it's the police's incompetence as to why it wasn't done earlier. High Court will decide if Indigenous people without citizenship can be deported. The case will focus on whether an Indigenous person can be considered an alien under Australian Constitution. Lawyers will argue in the High Court of Australia next month that Indigenous people should be exempt from the government's mandatory deportation powers. Immigration laws changed in 2014, allowing visas to be revoked if a person has been convicted of a crime carrying a jail sentence of a year or longer. Data shows the number of visa cancellations in Australia has increased steadily since then. A significant proportion of people currently detained at offshore detention centres face the prospect of being sent to New Zealand, the Pacific Islands or Papua New Guinea, including those who have lived in Australia for most of their life. Same sort of shit that we've got over here with the Windrush. And that's how you know it's all planned and they're all working to the same agenda. 5G. The dominoes are starting to fall. Long-time United Nations staff member Claire Edwards summarises worldwide development of the 5G situation. While still far from a victory claim, there is much to be hopeful about as millions around the world deepen involvement and takes a stand for our shared future. How do you stop the rollout of a $12 trillion technology promoted by one of the most profitable industries on the planet and bulldozed through the EU, FCC and the whole UN, most notably its Wi-Fi enablers, WHO and ITU? Many people have said it's impossible, but even as Trump administration attempts to ram through 5G in the United States, traitor, the dominoes are indeed falling around the world as cities and entire nations are coming to the senses and putting the brakes on 5G. US 24th of March, Portland, Oregon city officials state clear opposition to the installation of 5G networks around the city, support by the mayor and 2 commissioners. Italy 28th of March, Florence applies the precautionary principle, refusing permission for 5G and referring to the ambiguous, the uncertain and supranational bodies, that pivot bodies like India, which are very different positions from each other despite the huge evidence on publishing studies. Italy 28th of March, 1 Roman district votes against 5G. We should all be voting against it. Al-Aqsa mosque catches fire as Notre-Dame Cathedral in France burns. And they're probably going to, like I say, well, we did see some Muslims in there, but they were probably patsies. But either way, you're probably going to say that these are Christians and they're going to just try to put Muslim and Christian against each other. That's all that's going on. Well, one of the things at any rate. As an iconic cathedral of Notre-Dame burned in Paris, a fire broke out at Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The fire broke out in the grounds, round outside and roof of the Mawari prayer room. Antoine Al-Hawawi, ground of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, confirmed to the New Arab. The fire brigade of the Islamic Waqf Department of Jerusalem managed to control the blaze while the area is currently closed to examine the cause of the fire, which is currently unclear. Israeli police have opened an investigation into the incident, reportedly involving the question of a guard who was supposed to be on duty at the time of the incident. More going on than we realise. Wikileaks documents exposes a secret base on the moon. Facts. A document published by Wikileaks clearly implies that the United States had a secret base on the moon that was destroyed by Russia. It's one of many interesting documents that suggest strange things are and have been happening on the moon. Reflect on, is our world really as it's been presented? There are millions of pages of documents that are classified by multiple countries every single year. How is it possible to really determine what's going on behind the scenes? Why does security rule? The Assange arrest is scandalous in several respects, and one of them is the effort of governments, and it's not just the US government, the efforts to silence a journalist who has produced material that people in power didn't want out there. Robert Steele, former CIA operative. Notre-Dame Cathedral burning, a false flag, with complicity of the Pope, organised by Macron, Merkel, May, each a Satanist, with a goal of saving EU and central banks. 05 Civil War, 07. Other atrocities, 08. Wildcards, 09. Justice, 10 security, 10 traditional crime, 11 society, civil. That's just a thingy. Clap. Yeah. I was devastated by the total burning of Notre-Dame Cathedral, a place where I once prayed for one of my sons who survived what might otherwise have been a certain death. The parallels to both the Reichstag fire and 9/11 loomed. Then I heard from the shadow foreign minister of France that, and I believe all their following to be true, and an indictment of Macron, Merkel, May and the Pope, Notre-Dame would not have burned as it did without the explicit complicity of the church, the key police, fire and government officers in Paris, in detail and in advance and the future. Here is what I've told by ranking source in France. Now, when I was talking about that right at the beginning, also it took the fire brigade 2 hours to get there. It burnt for 63 minutes and it took the fire brigade 2 hours. Just stand down. We ain't going nowhere yet. That's all that's going off there. We're becoming, they can't get away with anything now, thankfully. Well, hopefully not. Chemotherapy, as I've been saying this for a while, is actually mustard gas from World War II, which gets into your veins. How many people ask their MDs questions about chemotherapy? Have you ever wondered how such a toxic substance, so toxic that those who administer it must wear gowns and gloves, became the standard for care for cancer? The truth is, its origins is as far away from scientific laboratory as one could imagine. The August night of 1943, President Roosevelt approved the shipment of chemical munitions containing mustard gas to the Mediterranean theatre. 2,000 mustard bombs were loaded onto the USS John Harvey. The ship was waiting to unload in Bari, Italy, when German planes attacked on December 2nd, 1943. The Geneva Protocol of 1925 prohibited the use of chemical and biological weapons. The Allies didn't trust the Germans, and both sides were secretly stockpiling mustard gas to prepare for retaliation. Imagine the Allies' surprise when the Luftwaffe, believed to be stretched to the thin to attack, blew up the USS John Harvey, releasing 2,000 mustard gas bombs, 120,000 pounds, into the air and the bay, indiscriminately killing soldiers and civilians. Hundreds of sailors who jumped into the water to escape the sinking ship were covered with an oily, garlic-smelling residue that blistered and burned their skin and caused many to lose their eyesight. The top brass knew exactly what was causing the symptoms, but they had been ordered to keep quiet. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Francis Alexander was flown to the scene after a short briefing. Alexander was trained to treat the effort of chemical weapons. He instantly recognised the symptoms: garlic-like odour, burning skin and blindness. It had to be mustard gas. Alexander was able to begin treatment immediately and save many people. However, when he briefed the commanders, he was told to treat the patients and keep his mouth shut. It was clear to him it was a cover-up. No one wanted the Luftwaffe to know that they had blown up a ship filled with mustard gas. Though it would be years before the truth came out, Alexander took tissue samples back to the US to be analysed immediately. As the doctors began analysing tissue samples, they saw a distinctive, consistent pattern. All the samples showed a marked depletion of white blood cells with the lymph nodes and bone marrow, exactly the tissue that became filled with lymphoma. Donald Trump to get full state visit, including carriage procession in June. And that's how you know he's now a complete sellout and one of them. Donald Trump is expected to be given the honour of state visit from the Queen when he next returns to the UK. Senior White House also said a formal announcement is likely within days after a rare meeting between Her Majesty and the US Ambassador Woody Johnson is believed to have taken place last month. The Sunday Times reports that the potential visit is expected to mark the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings in June, before the President makes his way to France to commemorate the country's liberation from the Nazis during Second World War. Total sellout. Explosive SLOG special. How May was installed. How she hid defence ties to the EU. How the media lied about the October BREXTENSION. Theresa May's true colours are an agent of controlling neocon globalism. In a triple header of revelations today, the SLOG assembles the evidence to condemn the Prime Minister as an anti-democratic, unconstitutional and euthanistic supporter of superstate homogeny and coordinated European defence. We trace her suspicious rise to power, the defence agreement signed during that nobody knew about, and how the media have been cowed into coercing the real nature of the October 31st Article 50th Century Agreement. Part 1. Quick, slow. Things were odd from the outset as the Brexit saga. What ought to have happened turned out again and again to be replaced by something abnormal. David Cameron handed a hospital pass to British people in early 2016. Again, all links are in the description if you want to read more. Mastercard ruling. Almost every UK adult received payment. Lawsuit could benefit 46 million people even if they have never owned a credit card. Almost every adult in the UK could receive a payout of up to £300 from Mastercard after a court ruling paved the way for what 14 billion class action lawsuit. The legal action taken by former financial ombudsman Walter Merrick claims that 46 million UK consumers paid higher prices in shops over a 16-year period because of alleged excessive transaction fees charged by Mastercard. 2 years ago, Competition Appeal Tribunal threw out Merkel's claim, ruling it would not grant an order for the case to continue to trial. In a dramatic turnaround, the Court of Appeal has ordered the tribunal to reconsider what has become the biggest class action in British legal history. Their whole world's collapsing around them. Honest mistake. Jeremy Hunt sorry for failure to declare a luxury flat purchase. Health Secretary says he did not gain financially from errors about his business interests in the Company's House and MP's register. Of course he didn't. We forgive you. Just pay back all the money you've stolen, you thieving bastard. The UK Health Secretary, as he was at the time, Jeremy Hunt, has apologised after it was discovered he made errors over the purchase of luxury flats on England's south coast. Hunt said his failure to declare a business interest with both Company's House and the Parliament Register of MPs' interests was down to honest administrative mistakes, and that he did not gain financially as a result. It was just an honest mistake. Yeah, you lying, thieving bastard. The Daily Telegraph has said Hunt failed to notify Company's House of his 50% interest in Mere Pond Properties Limited, something that took him 6 months to rectify. He also did not inform the Parliamentary Register of members interested in his share in the business within a 28-day time limit, according to the publication. And so what do we take from that? That every MP is a crooked, thieving criminal. School assistant loses job over petition against LGBT teaching. Gloucestershire Academy sacks Christy Higgs over post about classes at son's primary school. A Christian secondary school assistant has been dismissed after she reported an online petition against LGBT issues being taught at her son's primary school. Kirsty Higgs, 43, was removed from her post as a pastoral assistant at a Gloucestershire Academy after disciplinary panel found she had discriminated against its gay, lesbian and transgender pupils. This is getting ridiculous. Higgs, who had worked at former school in Fareham, Gloucestershire for 6 years, posted objection to use of children's books at her son's Church of England primary school on Facebook page. She invited her Facebook followers to sign a petition against compulsory sex education in primary schools, including teaching LGBT relations due to be introduced next year. I totally agree with her and her stance, and the fact that it's been made, what's happened shows you that we are run by a bunch of satanic bastards. Indigenous people go to court to save the Amazon from oil company greed. On February 27, hundreds of Indigenous Warrani elders, youth and leaders arrived at the city of Payout, Ecuador. They left their homes deep in the Amazon rainforest to peacefully march through the streets, hold banners and sing songs, and most importantly, submit documents to the Provincial Judicial Council to launch a lawsuit seeking to stop the government from auctioning off their ancestral lands in the Pastaza region of oil to the oil companies. And Eastern Jungle Province, those eponymous rivers, is one of the more than 1,000 tributaries that feed the mighty Amazon. Pastaza encompasses some of the world's most biodiverse regions, but the greedy bastards are trying to destroy it because they're trying to destroy the whole planet. I remember right at the beginning I was telling you about this. 4 days before Notre-Dame Cathedral caught on fire, 16 statues were removed from the top. Just a coincidence, nothing to see here, move along, just a coincidence. We weren't saving them because we had prior knowledge that it was going to get burnt down, although that's what it certainly looks like. The Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris caught fire on Monday. Before that, it was undergoing renovations. As part of that, a number of statues were removed from the top of the cathedral on Thursday. The statues were taken down to be cleaned. Yeah, not been taken down in over 800 years, but now taken down to be cleaned. It's just a coincidence, move along, nothing to see here. It was part of a larger project to repair the spire, which has since caught on fire. That's a coincidence, isn't it? Oh, and convenient if they were going to repair one now. They don't need to repair it because they just replace it. On Thursday, just days before the historic Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris, France became involved in a massive fire, a group of religious statues was taken down from the top of the building for the first time in over a century as a part of repairs to the building spire, the Associated Press reports. Yeah, They've been caught out again. Prior knowledge, we all know it. And of course, now we're talking about it, getting it out there. They can't hide it anymore. Firefighters who downloaded child abuse images spared jail. A firefighter who downloaded child pornography has been spared an immediate jail sentence by a judge. Paedophile. Freemason. Adam Carter, 39, attracted the attention of police when he was linked to users of a file sharing site on the internet. Stuart Loddy, prosecuting, said that as a result of officers raided Carter's then home in Abbey Drive, Woodall Spa, in November 2017 and seized a number of electronic devices. When the items were examined, pornographic images of children which dated back to 2007-2008 were found on the computer hard drive. Most were downloaded from the internet, but a short video clip was found which Carter had filmed. They're all pedos. It's time to... Paedophile with over 1 million child abuse images spared jail for third time. A sex offender caught with more than 1 million indecent images and video depicting the child rape and avoided jail for a third time. Darren Brazier, 36, was given a suspended sentence by a judge in 2010 and was after he was found with over 100,000 images and videos of child abuse. But within just 5 months, Brazier of Swindon, Wiltshire, was downloading thousands of indecent pictures on his devices again. That's his face, so if you see him, make sure your kids stay away from him. Metro, they saved Notre-Dame. Paris fire crews and their chaplain hailed for Cathedral rescue mission. Utter bullshit. As we've said earlier, they took all the stuff out earlier. It was pre-planned, and this is now the propaganda machine kicking in to give you full effect. They were heroes. Remember, the fire brigade took them 2 hours to get there. Telegraph. There's a picture of the thing. Criminals to be handed a clean slate. Javid's plans to change law so minor criminals no longer have to be disclosed to offender employers. Daily rasher of bacon raises risk of cancer. Yvonne Fletcher case may finally go to court. Police run out of cells for arrested protesters. Proms chief hopes flag row won't spoil glory. The Times. Notre-Dame saved just half an hour from collapse. Yeah. Told you the propaganda sheets were shitting it out. Scan could avoid 4,000 emergency cesareans. Red meat warning. Protests to hit tube. Labour to scrap SATs. ISIS fighters could flee. Shopping claims 14 billion. The Guardian. After the fire died down, Notre Dame stood defiant. Mastercard may have to pay 300 to every adult. Magazine that helped define the 80s returns. I don't say what it is. Notre Dame rises again. Rising, dies, 3 days later rises. This is all a play. This is distraction. The mosque at the heart of Birmingham city life. SATs cancelled by Labour. Corbyn government would end tests for children aged 7 to 11. May delay is keeping the Queen waiting. Riding the fastest train on earth. Chimerisha, whiter on vice and violence. Britain's new salami army. 700 million donated in 24 hours to rebuild Notre Dame as tycoons step in. UK pledges expert help with restoration promised within 5 years. Hero priest dashes into burning cathedral to rescue prices. Yeah, bullshit. Notre Dame 15 to 30 minutes away from complete destruction. Oh, that's convenient then, isn't it? Warning over the fire safety as Palace of Westminster. Oh, we'll have to spend some more billions on it then, shan't we? Daily Fail. Shining in the rubble, golden symbol of the miracle of Notre-Dame. More false flagging. The fact is in every paper, not what we would have expected, but this is a third day after it now. So, amid Britain jobs boom. Number of over 50s women in employment doubles to 5 million. Women who can't give up working. Express. Miracle of Notre-Dame, treasures saved from inferno. Oh, it's a miracle, it's a miracle, praise the Lord, it's a miracle. The treasures have been saved because we took them out before the fire started, because we already had pre-knowledge it was going to happen. Cruel care homes evict elderly, residents turfed out after families complain about treatment. Needs shutting down the care home, doesn't it? What made grumpy Doc Martin smile? Who cares? This scum. More propaganda shit. The fight back of Notre-Dame. Oh, it's a fight back, is it? Vital 30 minutes safe cathedral, except it took the fire brigade 2 hours to get there. Relics rescued as by heroic priests. Ah, well, actually, we'd already took most of them out, and it was just the little bits that I was due to take out the ladders after it started. Billionaires in restoration vow. Aces 140 wagers on games. Schools on bets charge. FT. Notre Dame funds pour in. Boeing backlash drives call for shake-up to rebuild reputation. ISIS and Class Lewis speak out. The bid to split Millenberg roles. Lobby budget concerns. Booming employment figures driven by record number of women in work. Williamson on defensive over fighting Ferry's plan. So what do we get out of today? Well, we get that the Notre Dame was pre-planned, and it was done in such a way to only burn certain parts of the building. There was at least 2 Muslims in the towers. There's a video out on that. Just do a search on YouTube. It's all over the place. It's on all over the place on BitChute. It's all over the place. One of them walks across the big tower, and there's a window open, and there's another one waiting there for the Muslims in gear, and they get in and go away. The removal of artifacts before the fire, the removal of the statues 4 days before the fire, the blockade or the stopping the fire brigade getting there, the list of coincidences just goes on. And as a friend of mine, a bold one, would say, there are no coincidences. If it's a coincidence, there's a reason for it. We look for the reason, we find the culprit, and of course that's the likes of Macron, May and Merkel. All beginning with M. Another coincidence? There are no coincidences.